Welcome to the Business Boys Talkin' Business Virtual Power Lunch. Please welcome your hosts, Tyler Price and Brian Magleby.
Hey.
Yeah, baby.
Great to be back.
It is good to be back. Welcome to June. So bring on summer finally.
Well, it's probably snowing outside right now.
It probably could be, but hopefully not. Hope everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend. And welcome to Talkin' Business. We are excited about today's show. We have been trying to get this guy on Talkin' Business since January.
Yep.
So
and persistence pays off.
That's right.
Last week we had Amy and Stacy on from the INL.
Not
the site. Do not call it the site.
It is INL, and we got corrected, and I'm still getting my bruises going away from the punches I got from Tyler and Amy last week. But what a great show they had, and man, I hope you learned something from that if you want to learn how to do business with the government, it can change your business.
Yep.
And highly recommend you looking at them. We gave some great slides on it, and talk to the PTAC. I go to the Idaho West BDC, or I think it's idahoptac.org, and you can get some help on doing business with the government.
Yeah.
So.
No, and when we mentioned that we were having Doug Sayer with Premier on, their eyes kind of lit up a little bit. So that's a great success story, and we'll get into that here.
It is, and they love doing business with Premier Technology.
Yep.
So we've got Doug Sayer here from Premier Technology, just down the road in Blackfoot, Idaho. And we are excited to have Doug on the show today. Let's just, before we get in and talk about that, we've got a great training topic at the end. Stay tuned. We will have 5 selling techniques every salesperson should master. Every business, in order to survive, has to sell something, whether it's a service, a product, or something. So we've got some great techniques that'll help out anybody in business. So let's thank our sponsors too.
Boy, we should, since we regularly fail to do that.
We kind of sometimes slide them in at the end, but we're going to get them at the beginning, opening of the show.
BBSI, I mean, just cannot speak highly enough about these guys. I mean, Jeremy Hicks and Jared Oviatt and
Mike and all the guys down there. What a great group they have here. Absolutely phenomenal. Human resources, if you need anything in human resources, even they do business consulting. Jared's great in business consulting. He taught my sales class.
Yep.
He's just absolutely great there at BBSI.
And then Volpine, I just can't say enough about Ryan as well.
You're on our website and you're watching Talkin' Business, and it's all thanks to Ryan at Volpine Marketing. The Andex guys.
Boy, they know what they're doing. They can set up a studio. They can any sort of events. They can host whatever you need.
Yep,
so.
Absolutely great. They've got a big thing coming up on the 4th, or actually the 3rd of July. They're going to be doing a big event down here on the river.
Yep.
And so they're great. And of course, the Idaho Innovation Center and the Small Business Development Center. We appreciate all of the sponsors to make this program possible. So.
Well, let's show a video of Premier Technology, and then Doug Sayer is the manliest man in Eastern Idaho, if not the whole state, I would have to say. But and we'll have Doug on, and we'll talk a little business.
Yep.
So check this out. We're here at Premier Technology. An amazing family owns and operates this building right here. They house 400 employees. It's an amazing manufacturing facility. They're in the food industry, they're in the nuclear industry, the government, all of it. They do big things here. And one of the most important things in their world, they're all about automation, they're all about technology, and with that technology, they still employ 400 employees right here in this small town, and I'm excited to be here, all right? So let's go check this place out.
Before we started this company, we were professional hunters and outfitters, and you can't make a living doing that year-round. So in the off-season, I'd do some welding, and it occurred to me that there was room for a business that was operated differently, and that was the foundation of the company, and that was back in 1996. We had a couple guys, a welder and a pickup, and right now we're almost 400 employees. We use the most modern equipment and techniques, and So my wife is the CEO and CFO, and it truly is a woman-run and woman-owned business. The majority of our family works here with us. If you're going to be successful in this industry, it's competitive and it's tough. You're going to have to be on the cutting edge, and the key to training your employees is an academy, just like Titan's put together. The fastest way you can get them trained and get them productive is by using that academy.
Well, Premier Technology, I mean, you could teach a course on how to scale a business because you started with a pickup truck and a welding device. I don't even know what you call it, welding device. I mean, that shows you how dumb I am. Welder. And so how does that even, first off, you could have just done that, right? But you saw a bigger need. So what vision was it that you saw? And then how did you scale that? Because 400 employees and shooting for more, that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm really excited. I'm sorry it took so long.
No,
I knew if I held out long enough, you'd pay me more. So
yeah, there's a lot of pay based on today. So the check's in the mail.
Perfect. Yeah. So, you know, it's right when we started the business, I knew that we needed to be big enough. We knew that there was going to be a nuclear renaissance, and you're starting to see some of that. It was a great show that Amy and Stephanie had. But you know, the stuff that's going on out there in the world, this with the energy and these small modular reactors, micro reactors, you have to be big enough. Yeah. And you know, we stopped as a country doing that nuclear work, basically after 3 Mile Island, and we had some real problems because the supply chain started to dwindle. People that had the appropriate stamps and accreditations, they gave them up. Yeah. And so when we founded the company, we knew that this was going to be an opportunity for us. So we just keep scaling up, getting prepared for it, and it's right around the corner. We're really excited about it.
Yeah.
Well, so talk to us about the beginnings of why Idaho, what brought you here, and starting out. Tell just a little bit of the story of how you started out, and then we'll get to where you're at now and what you plan to get to in the future.
Well, what brought me to Idaho is my wife. She's my girlfriend, and so that's the reason.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about her too.
That's a good reason to be in Idaho. But you know, we had an opportunity when we were scaling the company. We could have moved it. In fact, we went down to Texas and we looked at some properties down there. And at the time, Texas was doing a lot of investing in recruiting companies. Yeah. But the truth is that the most important thing about any business, especially ours, is the quality of the people. So, you know, you just can't get better people and better workers than kids that grow up on a farm or that understand the work ethic, and that's prevalent here in Idaho. And to stay here in Idaho was the right decision, and it's helped us grow. It's a lot of people will say that we do it because we're in the close proximity to the national lab, not site.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I learned that last week.
But we do work at all the national laboratories. In fact, the largest project we have Premier right now is for Oak Ridge National Lab. So it is beneficial, but about 50% of our business is in the nuclear industry, both the Department of Energy as well as commercial nuclear. So we're excited about the micro reactors, and we're working with all the technology providers, we haven't just picked a single company. We think they all have merit. So we're working really hard to maintain a relationship with them so we can be there to support them.
Right. What all happens in that nice building off the freeway? Tell us what all happens there. We saw a little bit of it in the video there, but kind of tell us what is it that you focus on doing?
Well, we don't just work in the nuclear industry. We work in food processing and mining and industrial. We also do work for Department of Defense. So anytime that you have a large, heavy project, a big piece of equipment that needs to be manufactured, we're the go-to guys to get that done. We're vertically integrated, so we have our own engineering group, we have our own design team, electricians, construction management group. Of course, we do the fabrication and the welding, but we also have our own machine shop. So we're vertically integrated, and I think that's why a lot of our customers love us. Is because they can just come to us and we can do 100% of the work and 100% of the project right there.
So you guys, did you build a 427 Cobra there at your facility? I don't know why I think you did. But.
It wasn't a 427, but it was we put a 302 in it, and we built that car and we donated it to the Governor's Cup, where we auctioned it off, and then all that money that we raised put a bunch of Idaho kids in college.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, well, no, and so it's not just, I mean, very technical things that you're building, because even that is, to me, that's a work of art. I don't know that people look at a nuclear reactor and say, well, that's a work of art, but really, it really is. I mean, you probably see it a little differently, because it had to be precision is the key of what you do, right?
Yeah, if you look at the craftsmen and the people that are in the trades at our company, everything they do is a work of art, and that's the way they look at it too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pride in what you do. We were talking, or you kind of brought up the USS Ward, or was it the Ward? No, yeah. And what was it about that story that draws you to it, I guess, or what is it about that story that you love?
Well, I think, I've been on a history kick here as of late, and trying to figure out how we were able, as a country, to build these enormous projects. The Empire State Building is an example, 9 months.
Yeah.
The Alaska Highway,
Yeah.
9 months from start to finish. It takes you almost that long to drive.
Right.
Yeah.
But the USS Ward was a special story for me, because it was, the Germans had the submarines, the U-boats, and they were sinking the ships. So our country had to develop an alternative to that, and that's where the destroyer program came out. So they had to invent and design and build a destroyer, a big ship, not quite as big as a battleship, but big. And the purpose of that was to defeat this new technology that the Germans had. So in about a year and a half, they developed this entire program, and that included building the shipyards. But they wanted to do a sprint, and they wanted to prove how fast our country could build a ship. So the USS Ward was the ship that they ran the experiment on. They built that ship in 17 days.
Wow.
And
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I joke about you couldn't even get a Zoom meeting put together in 17 days.
Yeah.
So, and I think what's really important is that, when you talk to people about building something of that magnitude in such a short time period, they'll say, well, you weren't concerned about safety.
Right.
Or quality wasn't important. Yeah. Well, look, the USS Ward went all the way through World War I, and it's important to remember that it was built in 1918.
Wow.
In the middle of a Spanish flu pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Went all the way through World War I. It did so well that when World War II came about, they recommissioned it and put it back into service, and the USS Ward was the one that sunk the Japanese submarine off of Pearl Harbor the day the attack took place.
December 7th. Wow.
So it was a great ship.
Very good. Well, talk to us about some of the technology, some of the your investments that you've made into some of the technologies that you have there in your. What is it that some of these new technologies are doing, capable of?
Everything that's on the front end of our business, we were able to automate. And on the front end of our business, when you're talking about material handling, the cutting, and those kind of things, that product doesn't care whether it's going to the nuclear industry or food processing industry. It's just being cut and getting ready to be formed.
Right.
So we took advantage and we automated 100% of that. So once it's offloaded and put into the system, human hands don't touch it until it comes out and it's ready to be formed. Our next investment is the automated forming processes that go behind that. So I think what's really important is that, in today's world, we have to be on the cutting edge of technology and executing and deploying it. We can have all that fancy equipment, but we still can't build the USS Ward in 17 days.
Yeah.
Because it's the people factor.
And that was 100 years ago.
Yeah. When they had slide rules and the folding tape measures, right?
Yeah.
So I'm convinced that, in any business, not just ours, but any business, your number one asset is your employees. And being able to put technology in front of them, train them on it, and then have them execute with it, that's really rewarding.
Yeah.
So.
It is.
So then one of your biggest struggle is attracting people. I mean, you chose Blackfoot, Idaho, which is a cool little area in Idaho, right on the Snake River and everything. But that's got to be a hard get sometimes to get people to maybe come here. I don't know, maybe it isn't. But then, first attracting it. But what is it that you're looking at for the future, like the youth that to attract them into what you're doing too? I mean, it's a hard question. I don't even know that I even asked a question there. But yeah, what do you do to attract talent? And then what are you doing to, I guess, help develop talent?
I guess, that's we could talk here for a couple hours about that. So for a couple of a full decade, we've worked really hard, and I like to get them when they're in the 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's the time that they're really trying to figure out what they get excited about. And so before the pandemic, it's one thing that we used to give a lot of tours and bring young people in and show them what we're doing and show them that it's not welding anymore. We call it advanced material joining.
Right. Yeah.
When you think welding, you think a big old smoky shop and dirty, and it's not that way. It's a lot of automation, a lot of robotic welding and those kind of things, and it's really pretty exciting. 4 or 5 years ago, I could operate all the equipment in the shop, and today I can't operate any of it. Wow. That's how quickly it changes.
Yeah.
So to get those young people interested when they're in junior high, and then we support the junior high and the high school programs with equipment and materials and those kind of things. But you got to develop them, and with our we have internships as well as our new apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
So what we've done is become the very best at training and developing.
Yeah.
So it goes along with our mission statement, which I think you'll see it show later.
Yeah.
I wrote that when we founded the company, and I've never changed it. It's something that we live to.
Yeah.
It's tough, but we do.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Doug, you carry the title of CBO, Chief Business Officer, and kind of talk about what your roles in the company are, and then what your bride's roles are.
Well, the company was successful when I was the CEO, but I realized that I needed to create a title where I could do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So, yeah, my role is to help choose where we're going and what work that we're going to take, specifically what jobs are important to us as far as a resume builder, et cetera. But then the other half of my role is to choose the technology that we're going to use to manufacture or to construct each one of those projects. So we've been recently recruiting and hiring a lot of manufacturing engineers that a single person can't keep current enough to be effective, and so we're developing a whole team that's looking at new technologies and on the search for that competitive edge.
Yeah.
What's ahead? So and tell what does your bride do?
All the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She makes it so he doesn't have to
There's
have
the
anyone
truthful
come and bug
answer.
him. So,
Of course.
Yeah.
So, I call her the legend.
Yeah.
She should be here and not
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the fact. So.
No, I work with my wife, and same thing. So now, an interview that I watched, you were talking about some artificial intelligence, some 3D printing. Is that stuff that's being incorporated or currently, or where does that stand with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, that's my pet project. We're working really hard on it. I like to say we're on the cutting edge of technology with what we're doing with the 3D printing. Shelley will tell you that we're on the bleeding edge.
Wow.
So,
That's the CFO/CEO's perspective.
That's exactly right. But she's been very supportive of it. The reason we're pushing with it right now is, and what we're doing different is we're doing it inside of a vacuum. It's going to change the metal properties and the material properties when you do that. And we're proving it on a benchtop scale right now. But with the success of that, then we're going to scale it up to where we can print a 1 meter part.
Okay.
That will be up to about 8,000 pounds.
Wow.
Well, that's significant because there's a gap in that 3D printing world right now, and that's the gap, is large parts.
Yeah.
And is there a place for them in the nuclear industry? Everybody says that there is. If we're not being current, and if we're not testing the waters, pushing forward, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The technology, we'll have the nuclear reactors and microreactors in place before we can deploy the new technology. So.
Yeah. So the CNC machines are helping to cut and form what you need done. How's the 3D printing doing the same?
3D printing is really important, and it's not a cottage industry. There's a lot of businesses that are using it and very successful with it. In fact, I think there's a couple hundred parts on the Airbus that are printed.
Okay.
So it's not mature enough to be readily accepted into the nuclear industry today.
Right.
They are running some tests on some parts, but I think doing it in a vacuum, that's going to set us apart.
Right.
And we're using what's called direct metal deposit, which is closer to a wire feed welder. And I think for those in the nuclear industry and the nuclear safety culture, that's going to be something that they can wrap their head around,
Right.
rather than a powder that's, you know, sintered afterwards. There's a lot involved with 3D printing.
So did you have to build your own 3D printer, or was there companies out there that kind of had what you needed?
No, there was a company in Las Vegas that we were most impressed with their technology, and that's what we're working with now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's exciting stuff right there.
Talk about the employees that you have. So you have about 350 now, and what's your vision for the future of the next couple of years with Premier?
so we're screaming right up on 400. We, you know, and then we'll onboard another 50 the following year. So in our next code, and that's a code that limits the size of, well, I guess it says whether you can stay a small business
Right.
or you have to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So our next code allows us to grow up to 750 employees
Nice.
and still be a small business.
Still be under the
So-
radar. Good.
Yeah, well, I didn't start the business saying, hey, I didn't want to ever graduate, you know, to a big business.
Yeah.
So if that day comes, we'll no longer be a small business, we'll be a big business.
Yeah.
Well,
It's-
for Eastern Idaho, it is definitely considered
think
a big business. You have done such a great job of you bring in quality people and you do quality jobs. And I just got to say, you know, I hope that some of the young people out there that are watching can pay attention and understand and learn and do some research about Premier Technologies, because they are a player and they're not going away. They're going to be a big player in the future. So
your apprentice program then, how does who is that targeting? How does somebody find out? Hey, I want to be an apprentice at Premier. How does that process even go? But who do you target? Is it the kids right out of high school, or is it anybody?
You know, it's right out of high school, we target anybody that's interested in it, even if you wanted to change your career and decided that, you know, being in finance wasn't that sexy, you wanted to actually hang out with the cool guys and be a welder. You know, it's, but yeah, it's open to anybody, and you just apply online, and, you know, we go through an interview process, and we're really looking for attitude, and you know, if they have some previous experience, that's great. But if they have the aptitude and an attitude for it and are interested in it, then that's what we're looking for. So our program is a little bit different because, you know, we actually pay the student while they're in the classroom as well as when they're doing work on the floor with us. So it's unique, and we want to be out in front. So I can't say, you know, you give me a bunch of accolades and none of it's true, because I couldn't do or accomplish what we've done without, you know, the loyalty and the hard work and of all those people at Premier Technology that are on the team. So if you're going to be successful, you got to surround yourself with people that are brighter than you are. And in my case, that's been relatively easy.
Yeah, I have a similar philosophy in that, and it's true. The people around you really make it work, and that's great that you see that. But they buy into your vision, because you started as a guy with a truck and a welder. And just running around doing whatever you were doing.
Yeah.
So the vision you shared with people to build now, I mean, because were you just sitting in your truck, I want to build a nuclear reactor? I mean, you know, there had to have been some switches and some aha moments where it's like, wow, I can do hard things, and I'll get other people around me to do hard things as well. So how did that go? I mean, you know, when you marry your wife, I mean, I met her on one occasion, and she does out-hunt you a little bit. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's really fair.
So you did well there. But what do you think not trick, but what is it that people see in you that say, man, I want to work for Premier because Doug Sayer's a part of that?
Well, I don't think it's because Doug Sayer's a part of it. You know, I think the things that Premier does, I think especially this generation, you talk about, you know, finding something that you're interested in and making a planet a better place. And I think that's really what I'm all about, is those projects that do make a difference. And I think that's what attracts people to our company is the opportunity to work on really, really important stuff.
Yeah.
What do you see as Premier down the road? Do you see it still being a 50-50 split with nuclear versus other industries? What do you see down the road as kind of what's them ahead for Premier?
Oh yeah, that's that's an important piece of it. But I want to go back to answer your question. So why did we choose the nuclear industry? I think everybody should have a business mentor, and I had one. Yeah. And one of the pieces of advice he gave me was, if you can find a market that has extraordinary barriers to enter, the competitor density should be low, and therefore should have better margins, et cetera. But I can't think of anything harder other than maybe brain surgery, right? Yeah. Or having a rocket that actually comes back and lands on the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
So the nuclear industry is tough, and there are enormous barriers to enter, but it's that mix of markets that we have. So when one market's down, one of the others will be up. Maybe the federal spending's down a little bit during an administration, the other markets will be up. So it's that blend that's been really important, and that mix of all the products. So we'll get larger, and we'll be as large as our customers need us to be. Yeah. So, but we'll always maintain that blend. That's very, very strategic.
Mm-hmm. No, very cool.
Very good. Yeah. Well, we appreciate learning all this, and I hope that the community, the business community throughout the state of Idaho can check into learning about Premier Technology. What a great company here in Eastern Idaho. And is there anything else that you kind of wanted to share with us about the amazing business that you have?
Yeah, I was going to go back and say it's an amazing business because it's filled with amazing people. Yeah. And I got to give the credit 100% to them. Yeah. So.
Well, that humility is to be recognized. That's why the company is so successful, and we love to have Premier Technology here in Eastern Idaho, and what a great business they are. Talk to us about this mission statement that you have.
It's a hard one to live up to, because if you're successful, your employees eventually graduate. Mm-hmm. And that's hard after you spend 15 or 20 years developing that person. But you have to accept it as a leader that you're creating that future for that person, and you're having a positive effect on the industry. And if you can maintain that focus, you'll find that it's very rewarding. Mm-hmm. And what you like is for them to go out and be a customer. Yeah. So that's but it's not changed, and it's something that every single person in our company understands, and so we really promote it. People have opportunities to grow as a professional. We want them to grow as much as they possibly can.
Yes. Yeah. You do. Changing the world one project at a time, and that is what Premier Technologies is all about. And we are so grateful to have Doug here today. And we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be here with us at Talkin' Business, and we hope we inspire some people out there to really look into if you want to work for a great company, this is one of them here in Eastern Idaho. So thank you, Doug, for being here and for spending the time with us. So we're going to transition into. We've got a short video here that's going to talk about some selling techniques. Every business out there, if you want to grow, there's some things that you've got to know about sales. Every business sells something, whether it's a product or service. So we're going to have you watch this quick 3-minute video, and then we're gonna invite Doug to stay here and maybe talk about how some of these things maybe have influenced Premier Technology.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sales is what makes the world go round. I've been in professional sales my whole professional career.
Yep.
I've sold cars. I love selling cars. That's why when I thought you guys, well, still a 302 is pretty freaking awesome. I'm not going to lie. I don't know that you guys can just sit there and manufacture a bunch of those, although there's like Kirkham Cobra does it and other people, right? But I think sales is really, and some of the things you said is, you know, we'll get as big as our clients want us to be. So, because it's finding the client, actively listening is the first topic here. What is it they need? Because I think you probably built your buildings around the needs of your client, not around what you thought they needed. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair. The other thing that, and I learned some stuff, that was a great training. You know, we adopt the customer's emergency as our own.
Yeah.
So if you have a client and they have a real need, you know, you need to have the same energy that they have to get it done.
Yeah.
So making their emergency yours is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. We're just going to let's just quickly go through this list. Absolutely, some great tips here. Like you said, active listening, warm calls. You know, you got to get away from the cold call mentality. People will not take your calls.
Yeah.
But if you have done the proper research, then you can get into people's doors by being much more of a warm call.
Yeah. Features and benefits, and again, in what you do, that's very technical stuff. So your sales team has to, I mean, have that relationship, but then really understand how are we meeting your needs, and here's the features and benefits of what Premier's offering, and that. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, just very technical, and I think any sales is technical, but really understanding what are the features and benefits of your service or goods to be able to meet the need of the client.
You got to focus on the features and benefits for sure. And I'm a big person on the needs. I used to do a lot of the sales training, and if you just don't build the needs, you're just not going to get the sale. If you can't determine in their mind that they need your product or service, then you're just talking to the wind type deal. So you have to create that need with the customer of what you're selling.
And then social selling, I mean, you can talk about a whole bunch of different things, even social platforms. Our phones listen to us, if you haven't noticed.
They have been.
Yeah, when you talk, that phone starts to pick up on that, and you'll start seeing ads for that, right? Yep. So, but anyway, I think that creating social platforms because there's people that are interested in the nuclear industry or any of the verticals really, and being an expert where you can share that knowledge and people will be drawn to that and just anyway. And then of course, you know, people referring and saying, hey, you should go to Premier to
relationship selling. Yeah. So that's like Doug said, that's how they built their businesses off that relationship selling. So very good. Well, hopefully someone will take something away from this training. Let's just talk about what we have coming up next week. Next week we have on the 8th, we have a patent attorney and a trademark specialist that will be on our show next week. But in the morning, we're doing a free workshop. If you have questions about technologies, patents, trademarks, whatever it is that you may have some questions on that, I've got some stories that I'm going to be able to tell about it. But a company cannot be protective enough of their equipment, whether it's their sign, their name, their logo, whatever it is. There's so many things that you need to watch out for. We'll have some stories about some people that's had some literal war stories of what it's cost them thousands and thousands of dollars if they didn't cover their butts with that. Can we put that flyer up?
So that's at the Innovation Center.
It's at the Innovation Center. If you do, we do need to have you register for it so we know how many people are coming. There's the registration. If you go to the IdahoSBDC.org and get into the workshops, that's the exact registration link there. But if you go to IdahoSBDC.org and then you can look into the workshops and classes and you'll get to the one on patent and trademark. And we need to have you register for that. It is free. We're expecting a good group at the Idaho Innovation Center on the 8th. So that is a limited class. We do have to cut it off at so many people. So if you're in business, you should really be there, because if you're not prepared in this area, they can come out and it can bite you in the end and cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So we're looking forward to having them on the show. If you can't make it to that workshop and you want to ask questions, we'll be able to have the chat up so you can ask some questions possibly during the show The patent attorney's flying in from San Diego and just going to be here for the Idaho Innovation Center and to be on Talkin' Business. So we will be talking some great things next week on Talkin' Business. Thanks again, Doug Sayer,
Yeah,
Premier
thank you, Doug.
Technology.
Appreciate you.
We love them in the eastern Idaho area and highly recommend them. So thanks, everybody. We be talking business.
All right.
We got